John's childhood sweetheart is dying. When I heard this news, I was lying on the operating table. John dropped the scalpel and said to his colleague, "Please take care of my wife's surgery." After saying that, he turned and left. Watching John's figure, I couldn't help but shed tears. The next moment, the cold scalpel touched my skin. His colleague calmly said, "Why cry? With me here, you won't die." Chapter 1. Thud. John silently dropped the scalpel. He took off his gloves and threw them into the trash can. "I can't perform this surgery, call Douglas." It was the 20th minute since Linda had an accident, and my calm and composed husband finally revealed a flaw. He urgently stopped my surgery, turned his back to everyone, and pretended to unload his gear calmly. However, his slightly trembling hands gave him away. With Linda in trouble, he was worried to the point of madness. He wished he could fly to her side the next second. "John, your wife's heart rate is very fast, she's very nervous. Are you sure you want to leave now?" A subtle ache arose in my heart and chest. I calmly told the nurse, "It's okay, anyone can perform the surgery." The people in the operating room looked at me with sympathetic eyes. I just smiled. The day Linda came back, I knew that my marriage with John had come to an end. Letting John abandon the dying Linda to operate on me. He couldn't accept it. I didn't want to entrust my life to someone like that. The door of the operating room opened silently. A slender figure with a mask walked in. It was John's colleague, Douglas. Their figures crossed paths, and John said, "Please take care of Kelly's surgery. If I don't go now, I might regret it for a lifetime." Listening to his words, my tears silently flowed out. How embarrassing, Kelly. Just being abandoned again, why did I start crying? Suddenly, a dark shadow loomed before my eyes. A cold scalpel pressed against my skin. The usually aloof and taciturn Douglas calmly said, "Why cry? With me here, you won't die." Chapter 2. The surgery lasted for 2 hours. When I came out, it was already evening. It was raining heavily outside. Douglas stayed by my side until he made sure I was stable before leaving. When John called, the anesthesia had just worn off, causing me to break out in a cold sweat. Answering the phone, a lively and charming voice came through. "Sorry, Kelly, I don't know how," his brother twisted the words. "I just have a minor scratch." But John came running over anyway. "I've scolded him already." Then, her voice sounded a bit coquettish. "Already in your 30s, and still so impulsive. Did you think we were dating again? There's 1 cup of milk tea left, bring it to Kelly as an apology." There was a rustling sound on the other end, seemingly John taking the phone away. "How many times have I told you, if you don't want the wound to get infected, just stay put. She just had surgery, she can't drink milk tea. But I bought it for you." The atmosphere on that side was peaceful, only John's brother felt wronged. "I just said you were in a car accident," and he got worried and hung up. "What's that got to do with me? Don't drag me into your mess." Suddenly, I felt nauseous from the pain in my wound. The pressure in my chest made it ache. The thought of asking John to help me with painkillers instantly vanished. I hung up the phone without saying a word. A nurse entered and handed me a pill, smiling. "Here, Douglas prescribed this painkiller for you. Take it and get some rest." Chapter 3. Since I still had to work, I was discharged after only staying in the hospital for 3 days. As I walked out of the hospital doors, John's car was parked outside. I instinctively opened the passenger side door. A faint gasp was heard. Only then did I see Linda retracting her body from the driver's seat. Her disheveled collar, combined with a slightly provocative look, left me stunned in place. "Kelly, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." She looked like she was about to cry. John removed the strand of hair tangled in his wristwatch with a touch of reprimand in his tone. "What nonsense are you talking? Don't let my wife misunderstand." he said coldly. Afterwards, John explained to me. When she was picking things up, her hair got tangled in my watch. I knew John wasn't lying to me. He was always honest and upright. Before we got married, John clearly told me. I had a past relationship, but after marriage, I will remain loyal to you. But sometimes, this boundary can become blurred, becoming a breeding ground for ambiguity. Like now. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I said. John, let's talk. I don't want anyone else present. Perhaps my emotions made Linda feel uneasy. She bit her lip and said, John, I'll take a taxi back. Kelly seems upset. John remained calm and composed. Can you walk on your own? Linda's face turned pale, she forced a smile and said, I'll try my best. But she didn't get up immediately, instead sitting there and waiting. Even John glanced in my direction. His eyes were calm, deep, not much different from usual. But I inexplicably knew that John wanted me to say something. It would be better if I were more understanding and composed. But I didn't want to endure such grievances. I stepped aside, telling Linda. Get off, there are plenty of taxis at the intersection. Linda stiffened, her eyes turning red as she left. I sat in the seat she had vacated. The atmosphere in the car felt suffocating. After a while, John spoke gently. There's no need to be angry at her for my leaving. You know, it was just a routine consultation call from the emergency department. If it had been anyone else, I would have left. I didn't have the strength to argue about what he was thinking at that moment. I just felt exhausted. John, let's get a divorce. John slammed on the brakes suddenly, causing things in the car to fall to the floor. He furrowed his brows slightly. Kelly, why? Just because of Linda? I gritted my teeth against the dull pain, saying, Yes, it's because of Linda. At that moment, a sudden cry came from outside the window. With the honking of the car, Linda fell at the intersection. It was clear as day, the most conspicuous spot visible from here. I looked at the crowd surging outside the car window and sarcastically smiled. Your Linda fell, aren't you going to check on her? John, emitting a cold aura, started the car again. You want a divorce from me, why would I care about a stranger? Chapter 4. The atmosphere on the way home dropped to freezing point. Upon arriving home, Dumpling came up to us, meowing at us. This was the cat John gave me the year we got married. Usually, Dumpling liked to sleep between him and me. John stared at Dumpling, picked him up with a sigh, and helplessly said, Dumpling, Mommy and Daddy had a fight. Can you make Mommy forgive Daddy, okay? Dumpling meowed understandingly, looking at me. This was John's way of comforting me whenever we fought. He knew that I would soften when I saw Dumpling. But this time, I pressed my lips together and remained silent. John leaned down. Did you take the pain reliever Douglas prescribed for you on time? You asked him to prescribe it? John raised an eyebrow. Otherwise? You think I don't want you? John leaned in to kiss me, his slender hand cupping my cheek, his slightly cool fingertips tingling. Kelly, I'm not foolish enough to ruin our marriage. As I drifted off, I heard his gentle whisper in my ear. Be good, let's not divorce, okay? Not okay. Not at all. Chapter 5. If Linda had come back 3 years ago, I wouldn't have minded. After all, John and I met through an arranged date. Literary family meets medical elite. A perfect match. But also emotionally detached. I was a professor at a university, John was busy with work, and in our first year of marriage, the number of dates we had was few and far between. I can't remember when I fell in love with John. Perhaps it was a case of growing fondness over time. Maybe it was the rainy night when I had a car accident, and the driver who caused it was madly cursing at me. John came in the rain. A decent medical professor, fighting with the person who caused the accident for me. With wounds on his face, he wiped away my tears, sounding helpless yet indulgent. Why cry? Kelly, you can always rely on me. However, this reliable man appeared in Linda's circle of friends on the third day after I was discharged from the hospital. That day, I had just finished teaching and was standing in the office getting water. I opened the circle of friends, and Linda's update appeared suddenly without warning. Her knee was newly bandaged. Caption: The price of halfway abandoning me is the professor personally coming to change the dressing. After a while, she deleted the post from the circle of friends. And then posted a new one. Got scolded, will stand still next time, waiting for you to come back obediently. Accompanied by a cute selfie. Innocently gentle, with slightly swollen lips. Resembling a little cat that had been comforted after being wronged. In one corner of the photo, there was the wristwatch John had taken off. My hand holding the cup trembled slightly. It wasn't until my colleague next to me called my name that I snapped out of the indescribable nausea. I recognized the table in the corner of the photo. It was John's parents' house. He took Linda home. John's parents always said I had a strong sense of revenge. When bitten by a dog as a child, I had to bite back. Things had reached this point, and I had no reason to endure it. I decisively liked Linda's post. Commenting below, "Nice watch." Then I switched my phone to silent mode. After finishing teaching my students, it was nearing noon. I opened my phone to find that John had called me 7 or 8 times, and Linda had called me 3 times. The post had already been deleted. John's call came through again. Helpless tone. "Kelly, why aren't you answering the phone? Today is Monday, I have to teach students." He paused, only then did he remember that I never answered calls while teaching. In the silent seconds, I thought he was considering how to explain to me. But to speak first would seem disingenuous. I'll just wait quietly. Soon, Linda's crying voice came through. "Sorry, Kelly. I haven't seen my uncle and aunt for a long time, so I came to visit them today. John happened to be there, so he helped me change the dressing. Don't argue with him over this." I smiled. "Which eye of yours saw me arguing with him? You look so guilty, did you do something unspeakable?" "Kelly." John spoke lightly, reminding me. "Mom and Dad are here, be mindful of your boundaries. Linda was just expressing gratitude to a friend, she didn't do anything wrong, so there's no reason for you to blame her." Perhaps my silence lasted too long, and John was a bit annoyed and confused. "When do you finish work? I'll pick you up to have dumplings. Mom personally made them." Feeling suffocated, I took a deep breath and said with a smile. "John, in that house, there's her but not me." In response, there was a long silence. I didn't know that Linda had put me on speakerphone. My voice echoed in the living room. The whole family heard it. John's patience had worn thin, and he coldly said, "Fine, suit yourself." He hung up first. Chapter 6. This should be the first silent treatment between John and me in the 3 years of our marriage. Not too early, not too late. Coinciding with the premiere of Linda's play Reunion Lovers. The teachers in the office couldn't stop praising this play. I heard it's a story about reuniting with an ex, quite touching. After watching it, many people got back together with their exes. Ignoring all the gossip, I carried a banner and went to John's hospital. Douglas answered. "John's not here, would you like to come back another day to see him in person?" Wearing a light blue mask, pale skin, hands tucked in the pockets of his white coat, as aloof as ever. I smiled and said, "This is for you. Thank you for the surgery you did for me last time." Douglas looked at me with those light eyes. Not saying much, he hung the banner on the wall. I asked him again. "Douglas, I should come to you to get the stitches removed, right? If your husband John is too busy, then come to me." John must be too busy. During our cold period, he moved back to his place. His clinic hours increased from twice a week to 4 times a week. But he never contacted me. Perhaps he wanted me to take the initiative to reconcile and come to the hospital to find him. But I never went even once. Instead, I chose times when he wasn't there to have Douglas handle my follow-up appointments. After half a month, John couldn't take it anymore and called me. Why do you keep seeing Douglas? 4 follow-up appointments. My clinic hours are from Monday to Thursday, and you choose the weekend to see him for a follow-up? I chuckled. What's wrong with you today, so irritable? I have to teach students from Monday to Thursday, where would I find the time? John's voice was icy. Kelly, do you know what you're doing? Some people are like this. When there's a rift in a relationship, they become paranoid, thinking their partner will act the same way. I kindly suggested to him. Why don't you change your clinic hours to the weekend? John fell silent. Linda's play was scheduled for the weekend. He couldn't bear to do it. I hung up the phone and met Douglas's calm and cold gaze. A slight shock. What's wrong? Douglas lowered his eyes, his slender fingers gently running over my medical records. Kelly, you've taken sleeping pills 3 times this week, I can't give you any more. It's okay, getting drunk can also make me fall asleep, thank you these days. Douglas stared at my forced smile and suddenly asked. Do you want to have a drink together tonight? What? He took off his rubber gloves, stood up. Department dinner, John should be there too. So that's how it is. As a doctor's family member, it's normal for me to attend their gatherings. So I agreed and went happily. Coincidentally, John was always there before, but he didn't show up tonight. Seeing my disappointment, his colleagues looked at me with sympathetic eyes. During dinner, they took care of me. Whether intentional or not, the wine Douglas placed beside me was mellow and smooth, not harsh. Soon, I started feeling a bit dizzy. As we were about to finish, the work group of these colleagues suddenly rang. Douglas's phone was lit up, placed next to me. So I saw the message. It was a scene of John with his back to the camera, cooking in the kitchen. The photo was retracted in less than 30 seconds. John explained in the group. Sorry, my wife was just fooling around. Suddenly, all eyes at the table focused on me. The scene fell silent. Chapter 7. I knew John was going off track. Like a train hanging in midair, enjoying the thrill but not falling into the abyss. He was just at his parents' house, making a meal for the Linda who showed up. I couldn't question. Otherwise, it would be unreasonable. Actually, shouldn't I have expected this earlier? I've learned to accept this calmly, and I don't feel the pain anymore. After dinner, everyone decided to have Douglas drop me off on his way. Before getting in the car, a few of John's female colleagues came to comfort me. Don't overthink it, just rest well. I had drunk quite a bit, numbly thanked everyone. Then I lay back in the chair and fell asleep. Douglas drove very steadily. So much so that when the car stopped downstairs, he called out to me before I could snap out of my dream. At some point, my phone had slid over to Douglas's side. I subconsciously reached for it. And my hair got caught in Douglas's watch. The situation was so bizarrely similar. I was at a loss for words. Sorry, Douglas took off his watch, immediately creating some distance between us, allowing me to take my hair off myself. Before I could thank him, the car door was suddenly pulled open from the outside. The cold wind rushed in. John stood at the door, his voice calm but with an impending storm. Kelly, you better explain to me clearly what you're doing. This was probably the first time John lost control in front of me. His voice almost couldn't contain his anger. Gripping my wrist tightly, he dragged me out of Douglas's car. I was mostly sober now, looking at him calmly. Let me go. I haven't done anything. I saw everything. For the first time, a thin veil of anger showed on John's usually composed face. I suddenly remembered the day I was discharged from the hospital, almost a repeat scene. A sardonic smile crept up on my lips. I just got my hair caught in his watch, don't misunderstand. John probably also recalled that day. The expression of anger froze on his face. Chapter 8. John's subconscious reaction still disgusted me. Because I knew that if he was truly innocent, he would argue with me after I said those words. To claim he was completely clean with Linda and that I was being unreasonable. But John didn't. He was confused, lost, he let go of me, and didn't say a word for a long time. So, at that moment Linda got close to him, he truly considered having a grand reunion with her after being apart for so long. He also thought about abandoning his duties as a husband, pushing Linda down on the seat, and kissing her fiercely. It was my appearance that brought back his conscience as a husband, as shitty as it was. I turned calmly to Douglas, thanked him. John and I have some things to discuss, drive safely on your way back. Douglas nodded and left. The silence around was terrifying. I didn't pay attention to John, turned and walked towards the corridor. Kelly, let's talk. John tried to grab me, but I suddenly turned around and slapped him hard. The crisp sound of the slap echoed in the hallway. The pent-up grievances and anger burst out instantly. I remembered his back as he left the operating table, remembered the fear and helplessness of being abandoned by a husband. Shaking with anger, I coldly said, "John, don't you fucking touch me, I find you disgusting." I don't know how John explained things to his family. In any case, John voluntarily ended the Cold War and moved back in. He bought many toys for Dumpling, holding Dumpling in front of me every day. Same old tricks. Kelly, can you hold Dumpling, please? I took Dumpling, absent-mindedly patting him. Just when he thought I forgave him, the doorbell rang. My parents appeared at the doorstep. Kelly, we heard you two are going on a business trip?
Yeah.
Why don't you take Dumpling back home for now? When will you be back? Don't know yet. My parents sensed the strained atmosphere between us, quietly picked up Dumpling and left. Closed the door, and I saw John's pale face. I lightly tossed the toy he had just handed me to the floor. Consider the divorce, take Dumpling with me, and leave the rest to the lawyers. It was only then that John realized I was serious. His gentle attitude was gone. He rigidly uttered 4 words. I do not agree. Kelly, Linda, and I are innocent. If you dislike her, I can cut off contact with her. As long as you're happy, I'll go along with you. How did I become the unreasonable one again? I pulled out a chair and sat down, speaking lightly. John, who cares who you like? If I want a divorce, can't it just be because I've had enough of you? John was choked up with his words. He questioned me. Is it because of Douglas? I took a sip of water. John, don't be unreasonable. Douglas and I are innocent. If you dislike him, I can cut off contact with him. As long as you're happy to divorce me, I'll go along with you. In less than a minute, I threw back his own words at him. For the first time, I saw a look of forced madness on John's face. But I had no interest in arguing with him. You and Linda are whatever, Douglas and I are whatever. Pure and honest. When you've made up your mind, we'll talk again. A sarcastic remark that brought our relationship to an all-time low. John disagreed with the divorce, and we were at an impasse. It didn't take long before he shot himself in the foot. While I was giving Douglas fruit, in the moments when I spoke up for Douglas in front of him, or maybe because of the wound, during dinner. When he texted Douglas, John's pent-up emotions finally exploded. He slammed the chopsticks in front of me. Kelly, what do you want me to do? I'm not in contact with Linda anymore. How long are you going to keep this up? On his phone screen was a long message from Linda, begging him. John, please listen to me. Are you retaliating because I mentioned breaking up with you? Was I wrong? Let's be friends in the future, I'll behave and won't disturb your life again. I placed my phone on the table as well. Linda is unfaithful to you, isn't it right for you to ignore her? Why should I abandon my attending physician just because you reject her? My chat history with Douglas was as normal as ever. Saturday follow-up appointment, is the wound still hurting? Much better. Prepare to remove the stitches. Okay. John couldn't find fault, but as a surgeon, his wife having someone else remove the stitches was the biggest issue. I knew what John wanted to say and preemptively stopped his words. You didn't perform the surgery on me, so you don't need to worry about the follow-up treatment. I prefer to be faithful to one thing. Chapter 9. John sat in the living room. It had been a long time since he spoke. Whether he was really angry or not, after dinner, my lower abdomen became unbearably bloated. Without hesitation, I grabbed my coat and prepared to head to the hospital. John looked up, seeing my pale face, and asked, "What's wrong?" Avoiding his touch, I opened the ride-hailing app. Seeing that my destination was the hospital, John grabbed his clothes. "It's late, you won't be able to get a car." "Don't be stubborn, I'll drive you." He was speaking the truth. Before he could finish, his phone rang. Linda's name appeared on the screen. Perhaps out of a survival instinct, I snatched the phone and silenced Linda's call. "John, I'm feeling unwell, take me to the hospital." Then Linda called again. I answered the phone instantly. "If you call one more time, I'll tear you apart myself." After saying that, I harshly threw the phone against the wall. The screen shattered into pieces. I didn't know what had come over me, sweat beading on my forehead. John didn't hesitate anymore, supporting me as we walked out. Passing by the doorway, he bent down to pick up the broken phone. At that moment, the screen lit up. Linda had sent a text message. "John, if this is your choice, maybe it's better if I disappear from this world." John's expression changed instantly. Forgetting what he intended to do, he made a call, put on his clothes, and rushed out. He even forgot to close the door. The commotion brightened the hallway lights. Neighbors opened their doors, looking at me curiously. I couldn't hold on any longer, kneeling on the ground. "Can you please take me to the hospital? I didn't know I was pregnant. And about to miscarry." When Douglas arrived, he happened to hear the doctor say, "Do you want to keep the child? If we don't act now, it will be difficult to save." Actually, on the way here, I had a premonition. I had already made up my mind. "No." Douglas stopped at the door. Coming in was a nurse from their department. A kind-hearted elder sister. She thought I had quarreled with John, trying to calm me down while grabbing my phone and calling John. "The matter of the child needs careful consideration. Where did John go? His wife is in this state and he's not around." In the minds of their older generation, having a child is a decision made by both husband and wife. I suddenly felt very tired. At this moment, I had no strength to stop anything. As the call connected, Linda's voice came through first. Slightly hoarse. "Kelly, I'm sorry for letting you be so smug for so long. John is in my bed right now. Did you make him angry? He was very passionate towards me just now." The female colleague's face changed and she quickly hung up. When she gathered herself to call back, my phone was off. I was already familiar with the sympathetic gazes of others, so I calmly smiled. "Sorry, he cheated. I must have made you laugh. That was just as well." The hospital was a hub for gossip, after all. John, always the picture of integrity, had his scandal exposed in public. His downfall was only a matter of time. Chapter 10. The miscarriage surgery only took a short amount of time. I leaned against the hospital corridor as Douglas discussed post-operative instructions with the doctor. Afterward, he sat down beside me, handing me a cup of hot water. I felt the warmth from his palm. "Thank you. Douglas, I used you for some things. If I caused you trouble, I'm sorry." Douglas gazed calmly at the night outside the window. "There's no need to apologize. Kelly, I'm not a naive young lad in my 20s who knows nothing." "What?" Seeing me staring at him intently, Douglas stood up, dropping lightly. "It's nothing. Wallace will come over soon to take you to John's resting room." John only found out about my pregnancy the next day. He hurried to the hospital, and I had just come out of the lounge. "Kelly." John's tone was urgent as he rushed over and gently held my face, his eyes revealing a sense of relief. "We're having a child." He probably didn't realize he still had Linda's perfume scent on him. I furrowed my brows. Where did you hear this news from? Wallace told me. Wallace, the kind elder sister who called him last night. John's habit of only listening halfway was probably impossible to change. Linda appeared behind John at some point. With a sweet smile, she carried hidden jealousy and provocation. Kelly, I heard you're pregnant? John came to see me last night, truly out of his mind. She must have thought she was being mysterious in public. Feeling pleased with herself, right? But she didn't know that her words from last night had spread throughout the hospital overnight. At this moment, several people behind us suddenly realized, taking out their phones and pointing at her, whispering. Confirming that she was the shameless third party from the phone call. The atmosphere was somewhat strange. Linda paused for a moment but didn't think much of it. I suddenly found it all quite amusing. John frowned. Kelly, what's so funny? Did no one tell you that I had a miscarriage? John's expression froze. What do you mean? Seeing my mocking smile, John's face stiffened, rebuking coldly. Kelly, how dare you make decisions on your own? I am your husband. A bizarre silence fell over the scene. I couldn't contain the sarcasm in my words. Do you remember you're my husband? What were you doing when I called you last night? John's eyes darkened. You called? Yes, Linda answered. She said you were very passionate with her in bed and asked me not to disturb you. A gasp swept through the crowd. This mistress is really audacious. Daring to come to the hospital and flaunt herself in front of the main wife. John froze entirely. His hand trembled as he looked at the terrified Linda. Is that what she said? Linda's face turned ashen, only now realizing that the way people were looking at her wasn't right. Not knowing where things went wrong, she shook her head in a panic. She's lying, I didn't, John, I didn't. Calmly, I added. Her words were not only heard by me, but your colleagues also heard. John, how dare you let your mistress act so arrogantly like this? Who do you think you are, asking me to keep your child? Chapter 11. Linda collapsed. She cried uncontrollably. Amidst the gossip and pointing from the crowd, she fled in disarray. John seemed lost, standing still, not reacting for a long while. Local news spread rapidly. By that afternoon, gossip had moved from the medical circle to the theatrical circle. All sorts of unpleasant things were being said. Linda is so proud to be a mistress, she's really something, why doesn't she live stream about it? When she's acting, she refuses to add people on WeChat, so high and mighty. Turns out, she's just a pesky fly. The next day, when I went to the hospital to get medicine, I ran into a red-eyed Linda. She stopped me, begging for forgiveness. Kelly, we don't need to make a scene like this, right? As long as you help me clarify things, I'll leave John. Clarify what? Just pretend I never said those things, okay? Tears streaming down her face, she pleaded. I can't afford to lose my job. I grabbed her by the hair, speaking calmly. Linda, I did say I would tear you apart, didn't I? I dragged her to John's office. I'll give you a chance. I have the evidence, whether you lose your job or John loses his job, you two sort it out yourselves. But I suggest you sacrifice yourself. Firstly, because you love him so much, and secondly, if John loses his job, will your good brother support you? That day, behind a closed door, I heard John roar almost uncontrollably, my heart as calm as still water. Linda seemed to be crying. John, I'm just possessive. I just hate that woman, I don't want her to take you away from me. We are meant to be together, why? Enough. John said coldly. You're just a mistress. Linda shouted in disbelief. John, you didn't say that. You clearly love me. Why would I not love my wife and love you instead? Am I crazy? Listening to John's almost mocking words, Linda collapsed. Then divorce me. Let's go live somewhere else. I can be your wife. Forget it. John's tone was distant. You've ruined everything for me, I can't afford to keep someone like you. See? When nothing of his was threatened, a first love was a sacred memory. But the moment he lost everything, even that so-called white moonlight turned to trash. Actually, I was just joking. I don't want to let either of them go. After Linda left, I walked in and threw the divorce agreement in John's face. I don't want to move, and I don't want to see you, so don't go back to that house. Don't argue with me, I don't want things to get ugly. John sat there, pale, without saying a word. Back at home, I threw all of John's belongings out. I sent a few boxes of John's personal clothing to Linda. I even sent her a message. It's all yours, enough for a month, go ahead with your passion. Since Linda had acted in a play, she was quite popular. She had already been exposed by enthusiastic netizens. Online discussions were rampant. Oh, so her reconciliation with him is breaking up someone else's family, being a homewrecker, acting as a third party. I really want to hear her taunt the original wife. I'll point you in the right direction at Shawu Loves Life, Sick Edition. The blogger got sick and went to the hospital, and in the background, you can hear the third party's phone call. I never expected that someone actually recorded it. And then someone doctored the audio. He's so passionate about me, was all over the place. Linda was furious. Several times, people interviewed Linda on the street, and she fled in a panic in front of others' cameras, looking extremely embarrassed. Many people gathered below the theater company, asking, "Is Sister Passion still working? A person with a corrupt moral character, haven't they been fired yet?" A few days later, the theater company issued a statement, Linda had been fired. Since then, I have never seen Linda again. Chapter 12. In the blink of an eye, autumn arrived. John's affairs caused quite a stir online, and he was fired from the hospital. For the sake of my health, I took a long leave. I was waiting for John to sign the divorce agreement. In just a month, everything changed drastically. The pain of betrayal occasionally resurfaces in the dead of night. We had beautiful memories, passionate kisses, and blushing hearts because of the touch of fingertips. It was because of these moments that these 3 years felt more like a dream. After waking up from the dream, reality was bloody. I felt distressed, wronged, resentful, and in pain. Fortunately, it wasn't something too unbearable. Time will eventually smooth everything out. A few days later, in the late night, John called me. I was grooming Dumpling, so I put him on speakerphone. John's voice echoed in the empty house. I thought he was going to talk to me about the terms of the divorce. But instead, he started talking about the past. It's ridiculous. The one who betrayed first, in the end, became the most affectionate person. Kelly, do you remember the time at Happy Valley when you wanted to cross the bridge, and I carried you on my shoulders? I was very calm. I remember, the 3rd month after our marriage, on my birthday. The first couple to reach the finish line could win a small cake. But you accidentally dropped me into the water. John smiled. Yes, I blamed myself all day. At the hot pot restaurant, you got drunk, leaned over to kiss me, and said you didn't blame me. That was the first time I felt something for you. I didn't say anything, patted Dumplings, but, watching her jump around on the sofa. John asked again. Do you remember the night of your car accident? I remember, you got injured for me, and I cried. The following Christmas. I remember. The New Year's Eve when I was working late, and you brought dumplings. I remember. The sunrise on a snowy night in Nantang, the sunset by Songming Lake. I remember. John fell silent, for a long time, his voice hoarse. Kelly, our memories are so abundant that they can't be finished in this lifetime. Yes, they can't be finished in a lifetime. I laughed. But the moment you slept with Linda, all those memories no longer have anything to do with you. You who betrayed everything, are the one who should suffer. I heard John's breath escaping due to pain. John, I won't erase our past. Because I was happy, I was once happy. But that's it. I can talk about the past with you not because I can't let go, but because I have already moved on. No one dictates that one person must accompany another for a lifetime. I won't turn back, and I won't forgive. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. In a hoarse voice, John asked. I don't have a chance anymore, do I? I touched Dumpling's ear. Send me the divorce agreement as soon as possible. Let's part ways amicably.
Chapter 13. John's perspective. After signing the divorce agreement, he and Kelly entered a divorce cooling-off period. When they got married, he felt like 2 months lasted like years. A marriage born out of a blind date always had so many details to worry about. He was irritable and hoped for a quick end to everything. However, 3 years later today, John felt that time had passed so quickly. The once highly conflicted marriage was coming to an end at a visible speed. In the final 2 months, Kelly did not forgive him. The wife who was soft-spoken and gentle in his memory left with such finality. John often felt that the wandering month was like a dream. The first love of his youth had become unrecognizable after many years. But the unrecognizable one was not just Linda. It was also him. Seeing Kelly again was already deep into autumn. The trees on the street had shed their leaves. She was dressed a bit more warmly than others, seeming to be more sensitive to the cold. Thinking of their unborn child, John felt indescribably upset. Wrapped in a scarf, Kelly walked up to John with a relatively gentle tone. There's a bit of traffic on the road. John lifted his eyes and looked in the direction she came from, empty. The suspenseful heart seemed to find a slight settlement. But more than that, there was bitterness. I'm in a hurry, let's make it quick. Kelly took the lead towards the Civil Affairs Bureau. For a moment, John suddenly wanted to grab Kelly, hold her in his arms, and tell her he regretted it. He wanted to say that Linda was just an obsession of his youth. The one he loved was Kelly. But this thought was just a fleeting moment, disappearing into thin air. Kelly had said that an amicable divorce agreement was not an option, she would not show mercy again. His parents were getting older, he was middle-aged and unemployed, facing the dilemma of going to a distant place to find work. Once he started a new job, the chances of coming back were slim. His parents had lost face over this, they had been sick for many days without improvement. He didn't want to lose his last bit of dignity. Not many people were getting divorced today, the window seemed to be on fast forward. In the blink of an eye, the procedures were completed. The moment he received the divorce certificate, John felt as if it weighed a ton, making it hard for him to breathe. Kelly stood in front of him, the warm autumn sun gliding over the eaves, drawing a clear line between them of day and night. John stood in the shadows and asked Kelly, "What are your plans for the future?" Kelly replied coldly, "I have no plans, just work normally, live normally." Watching Kelly's hair tousled by the wind, he subconsciously reached out to fix it. Kelly, unaware of whose message she received, turned her head to look towards the intersection. Hair and hands, just missed like that. A black car stopped at the intersection at some point. Kelly walked quickly, not even turning back to say goodbye to him. John stared at the driver's hands for a long time, his heart and thoughts in chaos. But he dared not approach. He was afraid to see the driver and find out if it was Douglas or another man. So he could only stare unblinkingly at those hands. The autumn wind blew, tears blurred his eyes. The car drove away. John couldn't see clearly. John left his hometown. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. On New Year's Eve, he sat in the cold duty room, the bitter cold wind outside unable to break the excitement of fireworks and the joy of reunion. This year, he couldn't go back again. His parents were very dissatisfied with him, and relatives and friends almost stopped contacting him because of that incident. John seemed to have truly become a lonely person. Therefore, the dumplings Kelly sent in heavy snow that New Year's Eve became an unattainable dream for the rest of his life. Just after midnight, New Year's blessings flooded in through text messages. One message popped up. "Do you know Kelly got married?" John stared at the message for a long time, sitting in silence. After a moment of silence, he still couldn't muster the courage to ask who the groom was. Instead, he opened the conversation box with Kelly. The last record was 3 years ago. when Kelly asked him to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce. After much hesitation, John typed out "Happy Wedding" in the chat. Firecrackers sounded, making his heart ache. He took a deep breath, pressed the send button. A red exclamation mark popped up. The firecrackers stopped just then. The world fell silent. Just like his heart, withering into desolation.